Today, on a special release of the Broadway Shuffle, I am joined by Blake Porter, the Texas Tech student who sank a full court putt and whose life has changed forever. That and much more next on the Broadway Shuffle. Welcome to a special episode of the Broadway Shuffle. Today, I am interviewing Blake Porter, otherwise known as the guy that sank the full court putt and whose life has since changed since that putt Monday night against Houston. Blake, you're currently in New York. You had a crazy day. Tell us so far, I guess, about the whole experience that you've had in New York. You were on the Today Show earlier today, and then we'll get into the putt and the Patrick Mahomes and everything. But first, how are you doing, man? And what have the last couple of days been like for you?
Man, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on the show. It's been a surreal last couple of days, just like all this coming about. The Today's Show has been super great to me, just like letting me feel so at home while being so far away from home. And then obviously like Tech Athletics and Pat had just made it feel like such a special moment in my life. It's been nuts, to say the least. Yeah, it's been a really, really cool couple of days.
Yeah, I mean, you go from this weekend, you're probably just in Lubbock hanging out to Thursday afternoon, you're on one of the most popular morning shows in American history. In New York City, you're getting more news from Patrick Mahomes today. I mean, have you even kind of processed what these last 5 days have been like, or does it just feel like a fever dream?
I mean, it's just like one thing leads to another, and it's just blown out of proportion. So like, yesterday happened, we flew in, I was like, okay, we're on the Today Show. And the Today Show happens, and then Patrick Mahomes like hits me up on Instagram, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And all these people from Lubbock and like local channels, and then just now, like 10 minutes ago, Adidas Golf DM'd me, and they're sending me a bunch of gear, and it's just like, how is this happening? Like, I'm a horrible golfer. I can't say that enough. I'm not good at golf, and things are just perpetuating like crazy.
Well, I was about to ask, do you make putts like that typically, or was that a pretty big anomaly for you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a good golfer. My roommates are big golfers, and they're really good. And so usually when I go play with them, I'm the worst. So I play with the best roommate, and I'll hit probably the best shot of the whole day, whether it's a drive or putt or whatever it is. But I'll also hit all the worst shots. So I kind of group that in, and it puts me just at mediocre. So yeah, this is out of the regular, but for some reason I can like do it consistently. I did it twice on Wednesday or on Tuesday. And then I almost did it twice today at the Today Show, which was just nuts. I was like, oh my gosh.
So walk me through the process. Like, you were obviously, the Houston game was a huge deal in Lubbock.
Oh, yeah.
Students are waiting all day. Did you get there on Sunday? Did you get there on Monday? Did you know you were going to be doing the putt ahead of time? How did that come about leading into the game?
Yeah. So I was busy all day Monday. I had exams and then work, tests, all this stuff. So I got to the game at like 5:30, maybe closer to 6. And so I was like, how am I going to get into the game? So I cut in line with a couple of my buddies that saved me a spot, and ended up getting in. My best friend saved me a spot. We're at the very top of like section 122. Funny enough, the booth's right next to us. That's where Joey Maguire was, Kenny Perry, like all those coaches. So I was like, this is crazy. And then, I just got really lucky. They got me on the golf thing, and then I walked down to the court, and no warm up. The rest is history. And that was it.
So someone just said, all right, come on down, you're up. Here's a putter and here's the ball.
Pretty much. I wanted to be on the half court shot. That's what, and then say be on. And then they're like, we got somebody for that, but would you be okay golfing? And I was like, well, I can play basketball. I cannot golf. So we'll see what happens. And obviously it worked out.
Well, it worked out for you well, man. And that's typically, I know a lot of guys that are really good at golf, and they would much rather take your situation than probably being good at golf. So it's a putt of a lifetime for sure. When you made the putt, you obviously are watching this thing track the whole length of court. Are you sensing like halfway, like, oh, that's got a shot? Or are you just kind of like, I have no clue where that ball is going to end up?
Yeah. So once I set it up, you can see the court and you realize how wonky, like it's not just this perfectly flat, frictionless surface. So when it hit half, I was like, that has a really good chance of going in if nothing bad happens. And then some old dudes on the front row told me it goes left to right. And so I was like, all right, see what happens. Hit it clean. And then I was like, man, that really looks good. Like okay, this really looks good. And once I realized it was going in, I couldn't contain the excitement. It was nuts.
Yeah, so did you kind of black out in the sense when you looked at Pat and just started running towards him? Did you kind of make eye contact with him and see that he was just going nuts? Or was it like I just made this crazy putt, I'm running right to the best football player in America and, the most popular athlete in Texas Tech sports history? Or was it just kind
Yeah,
of like I don't know what I'm doing, I'm just going to run over here and jump and give
it
Pat
was
a big
surreal. It
chest bump?
was
Yeah.
I had no like thought about it. I had no like notion beforehand of like what I was gonna do. One, I did not think I was gonna make it. And then
Hmm.
two, when I made it, I was not like, let's go find Patrick Mahomes. I was like, I want to get hype with somebody. Who am I gonna get hype with? Pat. He's an athlete. I'm
Right.
not on the level he is, but I understand what it's like to celebrate. And I was like, he's just a dude that is excited. I am too. Let's chest bump. Like that's all it was. And it was just so cool because he's such a good dude. We got so excited. His wife was right there, and just like their excitement for how
Mhm.
high caliber they are. I thought it was just really really cool for them to do that for me.
It was awesome to see, man, and it's so cool. One, it shows Pat's, just a love for the university and his hype. He was up
Yeah,
the whole game clapping, cheering the team on, but his just genuine excitement for you in that
yeah.
situation, it's played out. I mean, to think here you are on Thursday and you're getting a FaceTime call from Patrick Mahomes while being on the Today Show talking about your free tuition. Talk a little bit about that moment as well and what that means to you.
Man, it's a crazy God moment, truly.
Mhm.
I had a conversation with my parents like 2 or 3 weeks ago. I was just really stressed about tuition. Obviously, a beautiful girlfriend. I want to propose to her, and I just felt really unable. Honestly, it's just a stressful time, and God's willingness and just ability to be faithful is just shown through that. And it's
Yep.
really just a God moment, and there's no other way to put it. It's just crazy to me.
It's crazy how things work out sometimes. So when you
Yeah,
got the call that you were going to New York, obviously you're in Lubbock, you're in school
yeah,
still,
yeah.
you just come off the putt. Was it just like, okay, let's do this? Did Texas Tech reach out to you? Like who reached out to you that you
Right.
were going to be on the Today Show?
So I didn't know this, but NBC emailed Robert Geo, is this what we
Yep.
call him? He's like in charge of it all. So they emailed him on Tuesday. Funny enough, ABC also emailed them on Wednesday. So
Okay.
NBC obviously first come first serve, and they're bigger. So
Hmm.
NBC is the way to go. They ended up emailing him. He didn't respond because he was kind of figuring things out on their end. She DM'd me on Instagram, and I thought it was a bot. I was like,
Okay.
this is not happening. I just hit a putt.
Right.
I'm not a big deal. Then I looked her up on LinkedIn, and it was like NBC Booker. Turns out she's like the nicest person ever.
Wow.
And so I texted her. She calls me, and I was like, holy crap. So I had to go into an exam about 30 minutes after that. So
Okay.
I go to my professor's office. He was at the game. I was like, hey, I'm having a really hard time focusing right now. So I'm just gonna take this exam, and I'm going to New York. He was like, I got you, bro. So took the exam really quick. My phone was ringing off the hook, and there I was at 11:30 scheduling a flight with American Airlines to fly to Dallas and to fly to LaGuardia. It was nuts.
Wow. And your whole family's with you, your girlfriend's with you. I mean, you got to bring everyone
Yeah,
along with you for the ride.
yeah. So they gave me a free ticket, so I brought my mom, and then
Okay.
my girlfriend was able to hop along on the hotel and the car and all that. All we had to do was get her ticket, and that was really awesome how that came about too. So it was just overall still something I will never ever forget, and I have not processed, not even beginning processed yet.
Yeah, I mean, your life has completely changed in 5
Oh
days,
yeah,
and I know it's just something that obviously and you just seem like such a genuine guy, and we've never met in person, but just
yeah,
your appreciation for all of this, I can tell you're really soaking this in, you understand how big a deal this really is for you.
yeah. It's monumental,
Mhm.
and it's just such a great time. Not even for the school, like I get to represent the school, Patrick Mahomes, like that's really great. I get to represent God, like I get to,
Mhm.
show what like faithfulness looks like. And like, that's really cool. It's something that will change my life forever. And who knows, like employer wise, like how this is going to impact that. When I had an interview a couple weeks before the putt, and my interviewer was rows to my right before I hit the putt. He texted me the day of. So like,
Wow.
this is going to have repercussions that I'm going to feel for a really long time. And not to mention, someday I'm gonna be able to tell my kids that I did this. They're gonna be like, "Shut up, Dad. We know." And I'll be like, "Don't forget it, kiddo." So it's gonna be something really cool for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, well, it's on the internet forever, man. You'll be able to
Yeah,
play it when your kids can understand,
yeah,
what it actually means. That'll be crazy as well, and
yeah.
I'm just thinking about for you, you graduate in May, correct? Is that
Yes, Yep. Yes,
Okay,
sir.
so what a way to kind of get into the spring and summer interviews, and they're like, "Well, what's something cool that's happened in your life?" Like, you have an interview question set for all of your job interviews the rest of the summer,
Yep.
man. It's gonna be
Yeah. I got
the
I got a fun
easiest answer
fact
you
for a
could have.
while.
Yeah.
Yeah. No lie. No lie at all.
Yeah. So I'm curious. Once you've made the putt and it kind of settles down, and you're just back in the crowd. I mean, you're not really expecting any of this to happen. What was the prize that you got just from making the putt?
Yeah, so initially I spun the wheel and I got like AirPod Maxes, which I
Okay.
was just grateful for that. I was grateful for the experience. I didn't expect anything of it. I was like, basically in shock, so I just sat down and I was just like, "What is happening?" My roommates were freaking out, but yeah, that's initially what I got, and I was grateful. And then
Yep.
Geo called me the next morning and was like, "Hey, this is gonna be a national television. Obviously, that putt is worth more than just headphones." So just from tech, I didn't even know about the tuition yet. I got a new iPad, which is like
Wow.
huge, really new. Um, AirPods, there's like the headphones still, and then they got me a 75-gallon cooler from Yeti, which was really cool. And so like that, I was like just thankful for that. Then they kitted me out in Pat gear. Adidas Golf hit me up. Pat Mahomes sent me that thing, and then tuition. Like talk about like the most insane thing ever. Being a Lubbock local, I would never have ever thought this was gonna happen. Like
And
ever.
yeah, and I was gonna say you went to Monterey High School, correct? And
Yes.
you were quite the football player because you also had spent some time in tech football as well. I mean, maybe not a lot of people know that, but you have worked hard for this university on the athletic
Yeah.
side as well. Talk about that a little bit too, because I'm not sure a ton of people probably know that.
Yeah, so played quarterback in high school at Monterey. I loved it.
Hmm.
Football is the best. Some of my coaches have actually reached out to me, and that was really cool.
That's cool.
But my dream since a kid, as most kids in Lubbock, is you want to play for Tech. Like
Hmm.
that's the dream. So I had some interest from Sonny Cumby and the Matt Wells staff. Obviously, that didn't work out, and Joey's doing a really great job. So that's really cool, but that didn't work out for me. There was a lot of people kind of fell through the tracks during that transition,
Hmm.
and I was one of them. Dealt with some injuries senior year that was really hard. So walked on my spring year, which was about 2 years ago, my spring semester, freshman year, at wide receiver, actually. So there was about a couple hundred of us tried out. About 5 of us made it through that process.
Wow.
So I played spring ball, was able to participate in that with Joey's administration or Joey's staff. Met some really cool dudes, Drew Hocutt, which is Kirby's son, the AD.
Mhm.
And like that was really cool. That was right before we transitioned to Adidas. So I actually got my jersey that I wore during the spring game. I got it framed. So like
That's
all of
cool.
this is happening January, February. Like all this is happening right here in February. It's just nuts.
Wow, man. I mean, and as a kid in Lubbock, I'm sure, I mean, you were probably what, 13, 14 when Pat was in school, maybe a little
Yeah.
younger,
And
12.
he
So
was awesome.
so you're
Electric. Yeah.
loving Patrick Mahomes, watching him in junior high, early high school. You probably
Yeah.
emulate him a little bit,
Oh
playing
yeah.
quarterback at Monterey, and here you are a
Yeah.
couple years
And then
later,
he's
chest
so
bumping
cool.
him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
so nuts. And he's obviously this just like great athlete, but he's also just a
Mhm.
dude, and like
Right.
people don't usually see that part of him. And so as like the way I saw it was like I'm just jumping with a dude that's like just super excited to be there.
Right.
And it wasn't like I don't want this thing from him because he's so important and so great. Like that's awesome. And he's just a
Mhm.
dude I just wanted to celebrate with. And it's just so special that he was able to do all this stuff for me. I mean, he's just a really genuine dude. And I'm just really happy like about this whole situation. He's treated me is really cool.
Yeah, and I see you've got the Patrick Mahomes t-shirt. You've
Yeah.
got it on now, so you're
Yeah.
repping the correct logo now as well too. Well,
Oh yeah. Oh
like
yeah.
that is awesome, man. Just so glad to see not only what this has done for your life, but just the genuine appreciation, the humbleness that you're showcasing here as well too. And for Texas Tech University, I mean, this is such an
Yeah.
opportunity. Like you said, it's probably a lot more worth than AirPods, man. I mean, the
Yeah.
marketing that Texas Tech is getting, the all over social media. You've been the talk
Yeah.
of really America today. I mean, has
It's
that set
crazy.
in that like
Yeah.
it's not just Texas Tech, man. It's not just Mahomes, like all of America, like my
Yeah.
friends, my mom's like, you see the boy on Texas Tech today on today's show? Like people that have no interest in tech know who
Yeah.
you are.
It's nuts. It's insane. I just can't believe like I'm the canvas for everything that's happening. And man, I'm just so thankful, just so grateful for this whole situation.
It's awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for joining the Broadway Shuffle. I know
Yeah, no problem.
we aren't quite the Today Show, man, but we'll do what we can to promote you and
Yeah,
to just let people hear about your story and your walk as well too. It's just a
perfect.
blessing to
Yeah,
get to talk with you, and I'll let you go so you can catch your flight. So make sure
yeah, I
you
appreciate
get
it.
back to Texas safe and come back to the promised land and get back to Lubbock. But just,
Yep.
Thankful for your time today. And
thank you. Yeah.
We'll talk to you next time. You're welcome to come on the show anytime, Blake.
All right. Hey, I'll be there. Wreck 'em.
All right, man. We'll see you. Wreck 'em.
See you.